welcome. Tonight we're going to talk about areas of Milford and people who take care of them. The Parks Department is one of the groups of unsung heroes that you only think of them when something isn't done. You just expect the grass to be cut and the fields to be lined, the pool to be open. So we'll talk about that and some other areas. Why don't we start with introductions?
Hi Al, I'm Jim Azzo, I'm the Parks and Rec Administrator, and I've been with the department for about 23 years now. So I'm familiar with the town, having grown up in the town, and look forward to talking about the town.
Joe Arcudi, one of the park commissioners, and actually right now I'm serving as chairman, as the chairman of the Parks Department.
And now you're the only Arcudi in Town Hall.
Correct.
I was going to say, for the longest time,
Tommy Brown, his mother was an Arcudi.
his mother,
Yeah, so we still have a couple Arcudis in the town.
there used to be Joe Arcudi and it was always followed up with senior or...
Right? Which one?
So, starting off, everybody wants to know, is the pool ready yet?
Pool's in the works, as it has been. So the architect, I actually talked to the architect today, and it looks like all the drawing and bidding is gonna go out on Friday. So that will be the big step that everyone's been waiting for. That way we can entertain the bids and do walkthroughs and get ready to break ground.
I think people are always amazed at how much time has to go through the formalities,
Yeah.
and then how quickly it goes.
Yeah.
But we approved that money, what, last year?
Well,
Yeah, it's been a year now, yeah.
It's been over a year.
every year. Yeah.
We've been planning since 2019, but yeah, it's been since the money was approved.
So,
But like you say, once you get through all the red tape and everything that you have to follow, right? Once the bids go out and it comes in, everything gets approved, then
well, let's
it will be
say
quick to get it done.
the request for proposals, the open season starts the beginning of August. First week, second week of August. How long is the bid open for?
So it's about 10 days. It'll be open for 10 days, and then there'll be the selection process going through the bids, whoever bids, and then it should be good to go.
How do you know that the bid is open? I mean, these construction companies, how do they know that you've opened the bid?
So it gets advertised on the central register, and then the town has a bid on their webpage. So all the construction places know where to look.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they've been listening. I get emails every day with different pool companies, different playground companies that, are interested because they heard, so they're just waiting for it. And then they'll, all the information will be there, the drawings, all the specs and stuff, so then they'll know what the project actually entails.
Has anything changed from what we talked about at town meeting?
As far as the layout of the pool
Or,
itself?
yeah,
Yeah, not the design or anything, no, it's
No,
all stayed
yeah.
the same.
Yeah,
so we'll have a little bit smaller pool.
yep. So it'll
But-
be built inside the
Existing.
shell that's there now is gonna stay, and it's gonna be built inside that.
Now, the wall that's there, that we used to try and swim across to,
Yeah.
that's, what, 60 years old?
Over 60, 63 or so, yeah.
Yeah.
How does that stand up? I mean, that's got water on one side.
Right, I don't know, that's the engineers,
Yeah.
but, so we
It was
don't,
long before our time.
that's why it was decided to not disturb that wall. So that wall's been surveyed that it's safe. So it's just a matter of, filling that area. It's gonna make it even,
I was gonna say, could you
More
really disturb that wall? You got the Milford Pond ready to come in if you
right, I don't
touched
know
it.
how they would do that. They would have to build behind it, I would think. You'd have to build something behind it before you did anything to it.
Oh, good, that
But
would
that
cost.
was never even on the table.
No.
So we'll have the new pool and a splash
Splash pad. Yeah.
pad,
Mhm.
which would be really cool.
Right. And then
Now,
And then the entrance will be.
at the front of the
At the
pool,
front.
rather than where the entrance
Rather
is
than
now,
the-
but you
Yeah.
won't have the bathrooms in the back, you'll go through the bathrooms to enter the pool. So you're able to shower and do all that as you walk in, instead of having to walk past the pool to go to it.
now, we went through a lot of discussion about why do we need this pool if we have Casey? How do you answer people?
We, we used to leave that to Peter Filosa. He was very good at answering that question. And from what I remember, because he was, listen, he was our pool expert, right,
Mhm.
Jimmy? You know, even back when Mike sat in Jimmy's spot, you know, Peter was the brains of the operation down there. But I think it all came down to, believe it or not, it would have been more expensive to run the KC pool than it.
See, I come out in a different place, Joe. I mean, you guys are Milford boys. The Pheno pool was Milford.
Well, if you're talking nostalgia, yes, I thought we were talking
Well, no, but I
dollars
mean,
and cents. But
dollars
yeah,
and
the
cents
Pheno pool
wise-
was a Milford pool, absolutely.
I don't know if it would cost more to run Casey and all, but Casey was always sterile. And I grew up in the Heights,
Yep,
but there wasn't a tree. There
yeah.
was nothing. And I guess it was to keep the maintenance low on the leaves and all.
Right.
But it never felt, I mean, you go down to Pheno Field, the Milford pool.
Has character.
You took your picnic basket, you had trees, you were in the shade.
Yeah.
You know, it felt like Milford. You know, tell me you didn't,
And that was way back when it first started, was a sandy beach.
that's right.
Um,
God, that was before
Yeah.
but you
My
know,
Uncle Chick Sales was a lifeguard down there. I was just saying, I was just having dinner with my cousin Maureen and Joanne. We were reminiscing about old school stuff.
it was a shock to me when I found out that it was only 6 foot deep. I thought the Marianas Trench was in the middle of that pool.
Yeah.
Because that was when you became a man, when you could swim across to the piers.
Sure.
You know, and as you get to the middle, it seemed like infinitely deep. Nobody ever told me that it was only 6 foot.
Yep. I was, honestly, I was a lifeguard down there for, I was working summer help for the Parks Department.
Mm-hmm.
And I did the Parks Department for about a summer and a half, and then someone had left the pool, and they needed a lifeguard, and I had my certificate, teaching certificate, and I was a mid-season trade. I went from the Parks Department, because they needed somebody, and Peter, I had, got certified through Peter up at the high school pool, and I was a mid-season trade and went over to the pool. Taught swimming lessons and was a lifeguard for the next 2.5 years.
You know, that's why I
It was a lot
say
of fun.
so many people have memories. And Casey Pool was there, but
Yeah, it wasn't the same.
it wasn't the same. Everybody always called that the state pool.
That was just because of the high dive. That was
The
the
high dive,
challenge,
that's
to
right.
go up the high dive.
Yeah,
Oh, that's right.
They had the 2 diving boards.
yeah. Gotta conquer the high dive.
Yeah, but it just never felt like Milford.
Yeah.
There's probably going to be people upset who love. And Casey Pool was in the Heights. It was a great place to just walk over at the end of the school
Sure.
day.
Yeah,
You know, of course, back then to go down to Pheno, we used to jump into different cars. It was the day where 3 of us would jump in the trunk. You know, you ever saw that today? People would be arrested.
right. Like sneaking into the movie theater on Route 16,
Yeah.
driving.
Oh, the drive-in.
In the trunk, yeah.
So the biggest difference now, though, realistically, is that the pool is more usable, correct?
It'll be updated. Everything will be updated, the pumps. It'll run more efficiently.
Yeah, but you can swim laps in the pool.
Yes, there'll be a section where you can
It's
swim
like
laps.
was it like a T, right?
Yeah, sort of.
So that if you're a lap swimmer, you can swim laps.
Still
Those-
be able to walk in. from the front, and then go out to do your laps if you want.
And that was one of the most wonderful things, is that it started out at 6 inches deep.
Yeah,
So, you know, when you wanted to bring down
every age.
your little kids, they could walk right out.
Yep.
And the other thing that is gonna be nice is the splash pad's gonna add weeks to the pool. So we normally have to wait for the lifeguards to get out of school before we can open the pool, and that's why we're usually opening in June. You know, so with the splash pad, you don't need a lifeguard, or you don't need a number of lifeguards. You'll have, if we have our pool managers there, they'll be able to, you know, supervise the splash pad, so we're, by right, we could open that up 2 weeks earlier and, you know, shut it down 2 weeks later. So we gain, you know, we could gain 4 weeks on the season, which
Cool.
would be nice.
I mean, from an operation point of view,
Yeah, it'll be, I mean, it's gonna be substantially smaller, you know, but also with everything being updated and new, you're not gonna have, you know, failures, you're not gonna have to fill the pool every day, you know, as we've been doing.
that amazed me when Pete was talking about how much water
Yeah.
that was used.
And that was part of the decision that the commissioners had to make to, you know, everyone was saying, well, why couldn't you open it up for one more year? It wasn't efficient to do that, you know, we would've, you know, thrown a lot of money.
Throwing good money after bad.
Yeah.
Well, I
Just
thi-
go one-
I think we asked that question of the commissioners and Pete 2, 3, 4 years running.
Yeah.
Can you stretch one more year?
Yeah,
Can
yeah.
you?
And we did.
And we got an extra
We
3,
did.
4, 5 years
Yeah.
out of it.
Yep,
But then you have-
Band-aided this, Band-aided that, patched this, patched that, and we did get an extra, like you said.
And I
4
think
or
that
5
was
years.
the thing that people never understood, is every 3 or 4 years, it'd be $200,000-$300,000 to put
And then there were
patches in.
compliance issues too, so now, you know, the new pool's gonna be fully compliant too with
ADA?
ADA. So,
Oh, that's cool.
you know, everything has to be now, so then that was a big deciding factor too. You're gonna drop so much money to open the pool up again to make it compliant, and then just, you know, rip it up a year later? That didn't make sense.
I mean, we're putting in $150,000 a year into the budget under Rick, under the town, general government, for ADA compliance. Like you say, it would have been a shame to eat all that money up,
Right.
That's right.
and then a year or two later,
Yep.
throw it away.
So you know, unfortunately, you suffer with it being closed. I mean, we made a couple, we've made a couple of tough decisions over the past 3 years to not open the pool.
With COVID and
One was
everything
with COVID, and I mean, I remember that first year, I mean, we took a beating.
Mhm.
Phone calls left and right, but it was a
Pretty much statewide thing.
statewide thing, and we were following the rules, and sometimes you have to make tough
But
decisions
see,
that
that's-
aren't gonna make people happy, but in the end,
It's not the state. Milford's never needed Beacon Hill to tell us how to take care of our people.
understood.
You made the right call for safety reasons.
Exactly.
You rationalize it and you justify it when the moms are calling you yelling, saying, "Our cootie, what do you mean I can't go to the pool?" Well, the state says you can't. But at the end of the day, the commissioners are all Milford people. They know how to take care of Milford people. But the big parts of this, the picnic area, whatever you want to call the grassy area, will still be there.
Yeah.
And now it seems like it's becoming more and more important, because we were charging an enormous fee to get in. What was it, $1?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so you start thinking about, it's great to see a lot of the Milford people who are doing well. You wish everybody in Milford does well for themselves and their family. But there's a lot of Milfordians who are, you know, kind of making it, but not by a lot. So having a place to go for $1 or $2, that you can bring your own picnic basket, makes you feel good that you're taking care of all Milfordians. You know, I don't know what the Casey Pool charges, but you really, I never took a picnic basket up to Casey, because I was always in the sun. It wasn't pleasant.
Well, we might have people getting a little upset, we might have to raise the prices, but not too much. But that may have to be part of the discussion as we open up the pool, but we'll see once we get there.
Yeah, but you'll never raise the prices to pay for the pool.
No, This was more, you know, if we have to, you know, bring in another lifeguard or two and things like that.
So you may go to $2?
Yeah, $2 or $3. That'll all be
Yeah,
a
but after
discussion
20
the
years of
commissioners will have to
$1,
have.
I guess $2 or $3 isn't,
Not bad.
you know.
But I think the splash pad's gonna be a huge feature that, you know, that's gonna attract more than the regular crowd that goes down there. I think it's gonna bring more of the community in, you know, realizing that this is a, you know, they'll realize that it is a nice facility. And, you know, it's all updated, brand new, it's gonna be brand new, everything, so. I'm sure we're gonna have, you know, especially when we start off, you know, a lot of new people, you know, coming down to check it out. And hopefully they like it and they come a lot, you know.
Well, a new generation will grow up with their own new memories.
That's right.
So what else is going on down in Pheno?
Pheno Field, we just had the carnival. So the carnival, there wasn't any major problems except for the couple rain days they had, so the field took a beating. But fortunately, you know, when they met with the commissioners, Fiesta shows, you know, backs at 100%. So they told the commissioners whatever damage is done to the field, they'll pay for it after it's all gone. So unfortunately, if it was a little drier, it probably would have been less damage, but, you know, some of their equipment and stuff got hung up when they were trying to get it out, and now we have a company coming in to do all the top dressing and seeding, and we'll run through the irrigation and make sure all the irrigation's up and running. And
Why do we allow the carnival to be there?
I think they've come to us for a few years, you know, and they've talked to the commissioners, and they've tried different avenues and different locations, and no one really wanted it any other location.
No, but I guess the question is, what's the benefit? Why do we allow a carnival company to come into Milford?
So the 4th of July committee,
The 4th of July committee, it's a fundraiser for them.
yeah,
Yeah.
they come to the commissioners for the fundraiser, and then they get some of that money to help with their parade activities.
But it's really not all about the money.
No,
You know, what I'm getting to is it's a good thing for the community during 4th of July
Mhm.
to be able to go down there and enjoy the rides and all.
yeah,
And especially if it doesn't cost us anything.
right.
You know, if they do pay, because you've said in the past that Fiesta's always been good about living up to, you know, if we screw it up, fix it, send us a bill.
Yeah, actually, the company I spoke to, they do this all the time for Fiesta shows. Not for them, but for the other towns that they go to, Lexington, Needham. You know, all these towns have Fiesta shows come to their towns, and the same thing happens, and they call up the same company we're calling up. When I called up to ask it if they could come down and look at it, they said, yeah, we do that for Lexington, we can come down, no problem.
Oh, cool.
So they're familiar with the company, and they know they're gonna get paid, so they're happy to come out as quick as they need to.
Now, we got 3 fields down at the Pheno area, right? You've got Vitilato, Pheno,
The
Annex,
and then Pheno.
and then Pheno. We just call it Pheno. The Annex, people always wonder, why is that not kept? Why haven't you turfed it or put it into better shape?
I often wonder the same thing. I'm still waiting for the 100-year flood.
Well, see, that's,
Right.
I remember when we talked about, when we put money aside to turf a new field, the logical place came out was the Annex.
Yeah.
You know, it's so busy and so flat.
Yep.
But then somebody told me it's in the 100-year floodplain.
Yep.
But we did update the irrigation, and we are seeding, and actually before the carnival came, it was the best it's looked in a few years.
The Annex itself?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Oh,
grass
I
was
didn't know we
great.
did anything to the
Yeah,
Annex.
yeah, so we have irrigation there now. It was put in probably 4 or 5 years ago, but it hadn't been used, and we updated it last year. So now there's irrigation there, so when they do the top dressing and seeding, we'll be able to water it to, you know, get the grass to grow. And with this cool weather, it should kick in.
Yeah.
Didn't use the water from Milford Pond?
No, years ago, they looked to put a well in there,
Yeah.
I think, but we didn't do it. We have town water there also. So, We've been using it for a lot of groups. Pop Warner uses it. Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts use it for some of their events, the rocket launching and things
Ah.
like that.
Soccer used to, right?
Yep, soccer still uses it sometimes if they have a runoff, if a field's wet. Lacrosse uses it. Youth lacrosse uses it. And then we have different groups that are coming around. They're actually gonna come to speak to the commissioners at our next meeting. Cricket, there's some cricket
I've been
players.
hearing that there's a lot of people from the subcontinent settling in the Milford area.
Yeah, so
Cricket's
Med-
obviously a big
Yeah,
sport for them.
Medway just built a court for them. Well, actually, they built a court at Medway. They paid for the court to be built. And they're the same, sort of in the same avenue, where they're willing to spend the money to repair the field, to do whatever they need to the field, make it better. And, you know, they just wanna use it so many Sundays in the fall, you know? So they approached me with it. We sort of walked it and looked to see if it might be feasible
In the annex.
in the annex. And there's enough space there for them to do it in a safe manner, even with the walkways there. So, I just,
think, did we,
they reached out years ago.
years ago?
Yeah,
did we-
and they might have just, I think they might have just come in to play a couple weekends, but this is like a full league they're trying to
Yeah,
do.
I wanna say back when Mike was here,
Right,
um,
yeah, I remember that
Maybe.
too. Might have been 6, 7 years ago, or
Yeah.
maybe even a little longer.
I think it was a little longer, because I'm not sure if Pelly was on yet, but Paul Braza was, I'm just trying to
Right.
think back that, and we did have, at one point, we did have them down there, they did the, what's it, like the big dirt, the pitch.
Yep, they call it the pitch.
They called, and then they came in and, you know, refurbished it, got rid of it when they were
Yeah.
done.
So they basically spoke to me. I went down, I met with them a few times, and now we're at the point where they can bring it to the commissioners and see if that's
Well,
something
if
they
you
want
think
to do.
about it, when we were kids, it was baseball, basketball in the winter, football in the fall, and that was it. Because I remember when I was a kid and I wanted to play soccer, there was one team in Milford, the Portuguese club. Unless you were born playing soccer, you weren't making that team. So we had to go all the way to Franklin to get on a soccer team. And then soccer, little by little, built up its following. Then I heard the same thing about lacrosse. That seems to be really strong in popularity now.
But the annex, yeah, the annex does get used. It's just, it's not everyone's first choice when they call in for permits, but it works. You know, we've had men's softball teams play down there. We don't have a diamond down there, but they played on the grass, because it's so wide
Well, we had the
open.
backstop in the corner.
We used
We used
to.
to have, yeah, we used
Oh,
to have
that's
two-
gone?
It got taken
Yeah.
down when they built the trail.
Yeah.
When the kids got in the backhoe, the loader and drove over it.
There were two diamonds down there.
Yeah, so there's one still, a small backstop, and the big one got down, but the benches are still there. So that was something that I spoke to the commissioners about, where I've had multiple calls on different men's leagues that wanna, come to Milford and, play on Tuesday nights or Monday nights, whenever they play. And I've been giving them different fields to use, but it would be nice to have one location where they could go and have parking and, it's plenty long enough. So that's still something that we're gonna look into, trying to go
But
through
now,
with.
the fields go to Milford organizations first, right?
Yes.
How does that work?
Well, they call it for a permit, so even the youth groups and stuff call for the grass fields. So all the grass fields that we maintain, we give permits to. And there's no fee. We never made a fee schedule. We started talking about a fee schedule back during COVID, but we never went that route. But, now with the permits being as many as we're getting, I think that's something we're gonna have to look at in the coming years. That, whether it's $10, $15, just to use the field. It might help with some of the places where we have porta johns and things like that to help pay for those, but,
Yeah, but we do have fees, they're called taxes.
right, right.
You pay your taxes on your house.
Well, we have a lot of outside groups, outside Milford groups coming and businesses and stuff that wanted to have like gatherings and stuff. You know, so it's not just the Milford residents that are using them. We have
That I
some,
have
you know,
no issue at all. That if somebody that's not Milford,
Mhm.
and this sounds a bit cold, but,
It is
you know, at
what
the
it
end of
is.
the day, we have fees, they're called taxes. We pay our taxes.
Well, it's attractive, especially at Plains with the pavilion, and now, as spoke earlier, we have the pavilion at Louisa Lake.
Yeah.
You know, with the great donation from the Lions Club, you know, we got that done, and it's beautiful.
Beautiful.
It's,
Yeah,
you know,
they
nice
did
wooden,
a great job.
it fit in perfect. And I was talking to Lenny Marcone about it, as he was down there, you know, walking his dog, actually, and I was talking to him about it. I said, you know, it couldn't be any better than, you know, I pictured. You know, and we had talked a few years back about it, you know, them wanting to do something more and this and that.
Well,
Came-
we had that Louisa Lake land.
Yep.
It was good to do something with it.
Yep.
So you put in was it Frisbee golf?
Disc golf, yes,
Disc golf.
Disc golf.
which is huge, by the way, right?
Not frisbee golf. So getting a snick,
So,
disc golf.
disc golf, so,
Okay, what's the difference between a Frisbee and a disc?
the disc is smaller.
Oh,
It's not as big as a normal Frisbee, that they're a little bit smaller, like 9 inches. But, you know, talking about the course a little bit, I mean, we opened up in December, we've had the official opening in April. We expanded the parking down there, and I get reports every month on the people that are using it, and we have 275 to 325 people
now
a
how does
month
this work?
using it.
Golf has a hole.
Yep,
Call it a Frisbee, a disc, a tomato.
the basket.
It's a basket. So you're throwing the disc to get in the
Yep,
basket?
Par 3, you got 3 shots to get there to get par. You get it there in 2, you get a birdie, same as golf. Bogey, 4,
Yep.
double bogey, eagles, all part of it.
And a lot of people are into this.
Yeah, we had 800, so just last month, I was just looking at it, because I just got it for June, I haven't gotten July's yet, but we had over 850 rounds played on the course. 275 people visited the course, and 15 people from 15 different states. All over, they're coming. And this past month, we had 124 of the 275 that were visiting the course for the first time. And we've been open since December, so they're still finding out about it. I play in tournaments on the weekend, so I hear about it. Like, I'll see people and they'll say, oh, Milford disc golf. I said, yeah. And they go, yeah, we just went down and played it, you know, last week. Great
So
course.
how many Milford people play disc golf? At Milford?
There's some. I mean, I don't know the numbers specifically, but we had kids that came down to the event, 10, 12, 13-year-olds, even younger, and we gave out player packs. And 2 days later, I was down there, you know, cleaning up, and I saw these kids that had the disc. I said, hey, you guys were at the event, and they pulled out their discs and they were out playing around. So it's getting more popular. Some of the schools have baskets. I know Woodland has baskets. I don't know how much they use them in the gym classes, but I think that's as we move forward, that's something that, you know, I'm gonna sort of get involved with the schools, trying to get some, they have like groups that come out, they call it U-Play groups, that will come out and teach kids the game. And I know Community Youth started using it. They had a group down there the other day playing when they were kayaking.
Is this something that is being incorporated into schools, or?
Yeah, well, gym classes have it. They've always had you would throw it through the hoop, you know, whatever it was, but.
Yeah, but this is more serious. I mean, this is a course and all that good
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
They don't have any baskets at the high school, or?
They don't have baskets at the high school,
Right.
it's at Woodland. They use the hoops at the high school. They'll put the stakes in on the field and throw through those. But yeah, it's
So
No.
if I want to learn disc, I won't say Frisbee, disc golf,
yeah.
how, do I just show up and wait my turn, or?
Yeah, there's no tee times or anything, you just show up and play. If someone's on the tee pad 1, when you get there, there's a practice basket that we also made ADA compliant with the rubber matting that I was talking about on the playgrounds. And you can throw your practice, putts, and then once the group goes through, you jump on.
Now, you talk about, oh, go ahead.
Jimmy's free for lessons.
You talk about rubber matting. I noticed up at the Prospect Heights Park,
Yep,
there's a web mat.
yeah.
What's that about?
So that's the playground compliance. So instead of using the pour rubber that you see in some of the newer playgrounds, like up at the Woodland School and Brookside has it now, we use the rubber matting. It's a little cheaper, but it is ADA compliant and allows someone in a wheelchair or a walker, they could go down the path.
The other one's at,
Fruit Street.
yeah, in Tank Field.
Tank Field, we just did
Field.
Tank Field, and Fruit Street we also did, and we just did the Heights, and now we're looking to do some work at Town Park.
Hey, it looked like a brand new playground in the Heights. It looked gorgeous.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Is that Parks Department issue?
Yeah. So, yeah, that's what we do. We have to fix things. So I had all the playgrounds surveyed in the town, and they were needed of some upgrades. So that's what we're doing, taking down some of the old apparatus and putting up new, and then making them compliant as we do it.
How many playgrounds do we have in the town?
There's 10 that we maintain, but that's including the schools. So we don't maintain the schools as far as, paying for any new apparatuses and stuff, but for the ones that we have, I think, take away the schools, I think there's 5 total. So we have Fruit Street, the Heights, we have Tank Field, Town Park, and then they have the school ones, that are all around there. And then we're gonna have a all compliant, all-inclusive playground at the pool. That'll be under the parks jurisdiction, so.
Now, will that be accessible when the pool's closed, or?
Yes, so I'll have a double gate. So if the pool's closed, it'll still be able to use for the trail or from the ball fields.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. So that's a lot of the stuff that we're doing down there is, multi-use. Where the old bathrooms, we're gonna leave the old bathrooms there, so then Vitalato can use the old bathrooms from the pool.
Will those be open when the pool is closed?
Yes, they'll still be operational, yeah.
Because that was one of the things that we noticed when the soccer league put in the bathrooms at Woodland. They'd be
Yeah.
closed.
Yeah, so these were done over 8 to 10 years ago. They were done over, so they're in still pretty good shape.
Do they get a lot of wear, or?
No, they
Oh,
haven't.
that's good.
We haven't had to do many repairs there. The town park, on the other hand, that's why we're doing those over with the hopeful grant money that comes through. That's our next big project coming up if we get the grant money.
That's that 1.3 million?
Yeah, and then we'll have to come to the town in October for the rest. But it will be a great upgrade. to that
What's the
whole-
rest?
I don't know.
1.3 million?
Plus, I think we had 700 or so in our
Yeah.
budget. So I think,
Won't be that. It'll be
I think 1.3 from the state, and then the town would have to contribute about 700.
Well, I mean, if you can get
If we can do it right away. If we have
two-thirds
to
of it
wait,
paid for by the state.
yeah.
Exactly.
And then we might have to, increase it a little bit depending on how long we have to wait to do it. But, I mean, we're pretty much ready to go. If we get that money, we're good to go. We already have the drawings and the design, because we had to do that as part of the grant.
Would anything change in Town Park?
A couple, yeah, go ahead.
No, you.
Well, there's a couple things that the commissioners have talked about. Obviously the walkways and stuff, everything, the same footprint. So it's the same footprint. There's nothing that's gonna change where it is, except for the basketball court. We would discuss putting a double basketball court where the double tennis court is.
Way over by the
Towards the-
bandstand?
No, this
The
one,
yeah,
yeah.
the basketball court that's by the bandstand, we're still discussing what we're gonna do with that. But the basketball court will go over to where the double tennis courts are.
Oh,
now.
okay.
And it'll
So
be a
there'll
double court
Double court,
with street hockey and futsal.
Cool.
yeah. And then the other three
Three.
tennis
Three
courts
tennis.
will be tennis courts and pickleball.
I was gonna ask about pickleball, because that seems to be up and coming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of people ask about it. So that's our plan up there, to have those 3 courts, and then the walkways, the lighting, all the fencing, new bathrooms.
The exercise area.
Yeah, so this, we received a grant from Blue Cross and Blue Shield for, yeah, 50,000 for the
Nice.
for the exercise unit.
So that'll go where
The old backboard
the
used
old
to.
backboard used to be.
Yeah,
For
by the
tennis.
tennis courts.
Yeah, that'll be where the exercise.
And that will be able to be used by the schools, it'll be able to be used by sports, so if you have sports practice there, baseball, whatever, they're gonna have plyo boxes there, they'll have stretching bands, things like that, that they'll be able to incorporate into their practices.
Now, we're keeping the bandstand.
Yep,
Yes.
we're actually gonna expand out, the plan is to expand it out, the front a little bit, because they're starting to get a little tight in there, the Claflin Orchestra. So I talked to Paul about it, and he thought if we just expanded it out where the flower bed is, and just brought all that out.
That seems to be a popular Tuesday night
Yeah,
attraction.
I'd be there tonight, but I'm here.
It's been- geez, I mean, that's been going on for
A lot of
a
years.
lot of years, yeah.
And it'll be, yeah, it's up until the 22nd of August, so. so
Well, you
that's
know,
a
and
week's
again,
left.
it's something that's Milford. You don't have to pay an exorbitant amount of money, because it's free.
Yeah,
Yep.
You know, so if you want to go down and just relax, because I mean, today, it's not like when we were kids. When we were kids, you know, that parents have to be involved in every step of the kid. You know, it wasn't like, how many times did you grab a ball and a bat and you head down to the field?
Yeah.
You'd never see that today.
you're seeing more of it.
As long as you were home by 5 o'clock.
We are
Not
starting to
5:05.
see,
Right, you better be home for
5
dinner.
o'clock.
we have some groups that play futsal, I was saying, up at the town park. They're using the tennis courts for that. The kids go up there barefoot and they're
Saw
up
a
there
bunch of kids
playing.
playing out there this afternoon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then we have, some people go down and play wiffle ball, softball fields and stuff at Town Park. You know, we had discussed possibly putting a wiffle ball field in the outfield of the baseball. Someone had brought that up at one of the
Well,
discussions.
Again, when we were kids, there was the wiffle ball field that we played at, the fence, that was the fence to one of the tennis courts that was near the bandstand now. And then there was another one, the older kids were on the other side by the double fence where they played. So you started out on one side as a little kid.
Kid, and you
worked-
graduated.
Exactly.
And I think that's some of the things that we talk about as a group is, you know, what are you gonna do in town where you can get some of that? You can bring some of that. So you're talking about kids not going out to play wiffle ball and baseball, you don't see that anymore, but, you know, you bring in disc golf, you can go out in the woods and play the disc golf. And you don't need supervision, you just go take your disc and go, you know? And, you know, it's nice seeing the kids doing that, but like I said, you start seeing them out doing the things that we used to do as kids, and it's nice to see. And I think the nicer you make some of these parks, the more the kids will respect them, and they won't do some of the things that they've done in the past. And, you know, that's all you can hope, but you can't adjust your planning for what might happen. You know, when you're trying to redo something, well, the kids will just ruin that. Well, we have to do it if, you know, we have to try it if,
We gotta trust
Yeah.
that they won't.
yeah, and.
Well, the other thing too is the 1% that aren't the best behaved kids. You can't let them totally ruin it for the 99% that are.
Right.
You know, there's gonna be some vandalism. Price of poker, I hate to say it, I hate to be glib about it, especially when you come from budget money to fix things, but at the end of the day, you gotta expect a little bit.
And we have it on a daily basis. You know, we see it in all our parks on a daily basis as, you know, just something that we have come to sort of just make part of the job. You know, we gotta go and paint this over, or, you know, some fences down here were broken, we gotta go fix the fence, and it's just.
Tell me about painting. We bought that high-tech contraption to
Yeah,
paint.
turf tank. Yeah.
Did that work out?
Great addition, yep,
I was gonna say, when we've gone up, we've seen the fields lined,
yeah.
which was nice.
Even straighter lines than I used to paint. But yeah, so it's, it was night and day, you know, even the workers, you know, it's so much, not saying easier, you still need a worker to do it, so it's not like something's doing your job. It's just, you still have to fill it, you still have to operate it, you still have to bring it from one location to another.
But Jim, it's gotta be easier, cheaper, something, because
Yes,
I've seen more fields lined after you bought the paint machine
right,
than before, so something is different.
right, so it's less, you can do it with one person, you don't need two or three. You can be cutting a field and then go and line the field right after it, or during it. You know, you don't have to watch the machine, as long as you're at the site, it will run by itself. You could set it and forget it, that's what they say, right? But
So it's got a GPS system.
GPS, its own GPS, we set the GPS at each location, so when the guys get there, they set up the tower, it finds the location, and then it has all our fields programmed in already.
You just say, go.
Just go, high school 1, high school softball, high school baseball, we started using it for baseball and softball in the infields, and not anyone has said that they didn't like it. You know, it's a little lighter than the chalk, but it stays just as long as the chalk. It's not like it's any different. You can still
Yeah,
see the lines and use them.
We would, at least when I was coaching, I'd trade off lighter or heavier just to have the lines there.
Right,
You know, especially for soccer, it was nice to have lines.
Well, that's what, you had a lot of volunteers doing that too.
and we found out some of our fields were off a little bit, so that home run you might have had at Town Park, it might have been the foul ball that it was called, it might have been a fair ball at the time.
I think
We
the
had to
question
shift it.
was, when you look down the line,
Yeah,
it wasn't quite as perpendicular as you thought at the corners, and it wasn't quite as linear, straight linear lines. They kind of moved a little bit.
right.
Doesn't seem like this machine varies
But
very
we were able to
much.
help out the Pop Warner. They have flag football. We put a field up, there's a flag football program on there. We did a 50-yard, you know, field for them up at Tank Field. They were able to use that for their flag football.
What's going on at Tank Field? I mean, people never knew that we did not own Tank Field, that the
Right.
water company
A lot of companies.
Right.
owned
Yeah.
Tank Field. So we were always limited on what we could do.
Right.
Now it seems like something's going on up there.
Well, that's all water department related. That's all their pump house, and they redid the tank and that stuff. And then once they're done with all that, business can go back to normal. You know, right now, I'm
Possibly look at maybe expanding.
Yeah.
We had a plan years ago. We were, through the water department, that they were going to, I don't want, I guess expand would be the right word to use, out
the wooded area.
the wooded area.
I would say just for what they're doing is cleaned up some of the area.
Yeah.
There's fewer cars backing up on Congress Street.
Yeah.
You know, because I've gone up there when my grandson was playing on Tank Field. And I had a place to put my car on the side, which never existed before.
Yeah.
So, I mean, right now, there seems to be some benefit.
Yeah, the commissioners have talked about possibly, you know, making some additional parking up there. But they'll have to meet with the water department and discuss some of those options. You know, so we don't intrude on their space for the tank and all
Yeah,
that.
but now you're not talking about foreigners.
Right,
You're
right,
talking about Uncle Phil,
Right, right.
Jonathan,
right,
Jamie,
And that's what it'll
Yeah.
come down
And
to.
gaining, and, possibly gaining, and again, I'm not sure how much you would gain, 20, 30, 40 feet into the woods, like heading up towards the high school,
Right.
that area.
Still giving a buffer to the house that's there.
The house
But I
that's
think
there.
we had measured it out, we could probably go another 60 feet or so there. And then
Yeah.
even add some parking if we're, able
But
to.
even if you got another half dozen or a dozen cars,
Yeah.
that would
Sorry.
be huge.
Sure, just move the field closer, and now you have that off-street parking off of Congress.
And again, you're dealing with Milford boys, Milford people. You're not dealing with people that have no interest or love of the town. You can't call them Milford boys.
And it makes it
That's-
safe, it makes
That's
it,
not politically correct, but.
safer too, because some of the younger groups go there, so you don't
Well,
want
see,
to get
that's
out
the
on
thing, when
Congress
you see
Street.
those cars just parked along Congress Street.
Yeah.
And the kids, every parent tries his best to control it, but when you're herding a bunch of cats,
Yeah,
one cat is gonna get out
Right.
and you see him running around the car the wrong way and your heart stops.
yeah. But, yeah, so, a lot of things happening.
How about the trail? You still maintaining the trail?
Yeah, we maintain all the brushwork, mowing. We do some of the signage. All the crossing lights, so if there's ever a crossing light out, we call the police calls the electric company to come fix those. And that's just another added, we have trash barrels, we have doggy bags that we put out, so
Do
we
people
replace
respect the
those.
trail that way?
Yes and no. There's always gonna be some, just like everywhere,
I would say for the most part.
Yeah, it stays pretty clean.
You just hope the people who don't respect it have chihuahuas.
Well, we get a lot of compliments too, because a lot of people use it, and when they start seeing, we actually have a youth group right now, the Youth Works we use out of the youth center. And it's high school age kids that are looking for summer work, and the state's paying them, and we benefit from it. So we've had a few groups for the last 3 years, and they've been painting our fences. So the fences
Yeah.
along the trail, I have them painting, because when there is graffiti, it's easier to cover. We just have to paint over it with the same color, and the graffiti's gone. So we decided to start painting the fences, so they've gone from the Dunkin' Donuts down near Fino, all the way to the water company,
Wow.
and then from the Cedar Street section on the Hopkinton side, all the way back to that crossing. So they've painted that in a 2-year span with a roller and brush. Three kids that have been coming back to do it, so, they've been doing a great job, and they come 3 days a week, work 6 hours a day, we bring them out, they paint it. And it's a big difference, it makes the fences look brand new, a little bit of paint, and it's really noticeable when you go down the trail. So we're happy with that. We're gonna add some fencing, hopefully at the annex, similar to that fencing, to sort of finish off that whole area down there.
Oh, that'll look nice.
Yeah, but the trail, we just had an excavator come to do some of the brush work, but the highway department just got that excavator,
I
so.
was gonna say, didn't we buy one?
Yeah, we're waiting for the head to come in. So once the
Oh,
head
okay.
comes in, we won't have to have any more outside help. We'll be able to do it in-house. But we use that Kubota. So the Kubota with the mower deck, we use that in a lot of sections, on the trail, up to high school, around the schools. And it's been a huge addition.
That Kubota reminded me of that octopus guy on Spider-Man with all the
Uh,
arms and,
Yeah, so there's all different attachments. So we have a bucket attachment, you have, grappling bucket where it picks up brush and, if you have to cut down trees and things like that. And it has a mower deck. There's a whole bunch of different attachments, rakes,
now, we spent some money cleaning up dead or dying trees.
yes.
Is
So that
that,
was a safety concern on the trail.
as I say, did that pan out or do we still have to do, you're always gonna have a tree here, the
Tree
tree.
here and there,
Yeah, we're starting to see more and more. The one thing I've been doing for the last 4 or 5 years is I meet with Chucky Renault each year, and I walk around and survey all the trees in the parks. because we have a lot of old trees in our parks, especially up at Town Park. So he goes around with me and sort of surveys them and says, you know, this one, you know, it's time for this one, it's time for this one, and then we have to make a plan to go around and cut them. If we trim them, we can trim them, get away with trimming them, but we have a few up Town Park that need to go sooner than later. And we're finding out each time there's a storm, you know, different limbs are coming down, especially concerned with up there because it's around the schools. So we've had a couple big ones come down, you know, during storms, so.
Do we replant them, or?
Well, we will be, so that's all part of the plan when we redo the park, but
Because, I mean,
more of those will be coming down
you
once we
look
do
at
the
places
park.
like the Heights,
Yeah,
those incredible cottonwoods that are over 100 years old. Everybody loves them except the people who probably have to live with the shedding bark.
yeah, we're a member of the Tree City USA too for the last 5 years, so that all spends that, you know, as far as any type of planting and stuff, that all go towards, you know, the Tree City USA, so,
Yeah, because those trees were put in there over 100 years ago
yeah,
when the Heights was developed.
yep,
So you hate to lose any of those trees.
right. So we put up, 3 or 4 years ago, we put up 5 new ones at Town Park, 5 or 6 of them along the playground area there. And those, I mean, those were only 2-inch trees when we got them, they're already, you know, 3 or 4 inches thick, and they're getting pretty big. You know, it doesn't take too long, they look so small when you first plant them, it doesn't take too long to get them to go big.
Well, they look small, Jimmy, when you compare them to what was there.
Right, and it cleans them up,
You're
yeah,
used to having this massive tree and all of a sudden, little trees.
yeah.
But 40, 50 years ago, when people who built Milford planted them,
Yeah, those are 80, 90,
Yeah.
those are 80,
You know,
90 years, those
Hey,
ones.
same thing was at Draper Park.
Yep,
We took all the trees down and
planted all those new ones, that was a big uproar.
that was a big uproar.
But, you know, now everyone,
Looks beautiful.
yeah, it looks nice, it's uniform, and, you know, we planted 13 trees.
well, I mean, you go all the way back to the dump. When we were kids,
Yeah.
you went down the dump and they just
Oh,
bulldozed it,
that's the other project we have going on.
just
Boy, did it
bulldozed it.
stink, huh?
Oh,
my
The other project's
God.
the Plains Park, the repair of the walkways down there.
I was gonna ask you, we allocated money for that, but I
Yeah.
didn't see any.
Yeah, so we just started putting down the wattle and all the borders, and we putting up the fence work, they're hopefully gonna start working on that next week.
But what can you do? I mean, there's, right at the corner of the parking lot,
Yeah.
that goes
Porta
underwater,
johns.
there's a swamp.
Yeah, so all the walkways have sunken. So the field has held up pretty well. I think a couple times we've had to do some work on the fields over the past 20 years. But the walkways have come down substantially.
But am I correct, you can't take away, you can only add
Add.
because of the membrane that's,
Right, so it's 18 inches down or 14 inches down, so you can't go any further than that. So basically you have to bring everything up. Yeah,
and
it's
that's
that
not a
far.
lot of depth.
No. And then, you know, but we'll do that one section, and then we'll come back and do the other section at another.
So
another
how do you
capital
grade
plan.
it? Do you just add more loom or something?
Yeah, it's a matter of inches. They did a whole plan to, it's really, the grade was only off by like 2 inches on the fields.
And 2 inches was enough to make
No,
those
the-
holes?
The walkways are down almost 6. So what's happening is the water's still trying to come off the field. It's getting to the walkway and not crossing over the walkway like it's supposed to. So it's getting hung up there, and then what it does is back up into the field. So the fields stay wet because there's no place for the water to drain
Well,
out.
it's a swamp when you're walking
Yeah.
up there.
Yep. So now, you know, over the past, you know, 4 or 5 years, you started noticing dips in the pavement and stuff like that. So now you're getting washouts underneath there. So we had to have the whole thing, you know, surveyed and,
Well, the other point you brought up was that the walkway was too narrow for some of your new Kubota thingies and
right.
equipment.
And we found out that the walkway is actually 8 feet wide. That's there. It's the grass that's grown over it.
Is that right?
Yeah, by almost a foot and a half.
I was gonna say, 8 feet seems like wide enough for,
Yeah, 8 feet's wide enough for a truck, but the reason why we were hitting the grass is because the grass has grown over it. So that's something we'll have to keep an eye on as we go. I mean, 20 years, that's 20 years growth that's
Yeah, but-
come up.
think about the use of Plains Park. I mean, the world would be different when you're a coach if you didn't have Plains Park
Yeah.
to count on.
And unfortunately, we've, lost the able to use those 2 fields because of how wet it's kept. So we had the 2 softball fields that we had in those areas that we had to stop using because of the backup with the water. We were able to get through the soccer all right, for the most part, but we'll gain those fields back.
But this project will bring those back online.
And then we're gonna plan on doing the other side. We'll come back for more to do the other side. But it's, between $70,000 and $90,000 to do it.
Yeah, but
And it's
you're
20
gonna run
years.
into what you
20
always
years.
do. You're gonna come in and say, we need $100,000 to do this. Finance committee will cry poverty. Town meeting will cry that it's more money into parks. And at the end of the day, everybody will support it.
Yeah.
Because have you ever seen town meeting turn down something that's good for our kids?
Well, 21 years now, I think we are with that field, so those walkways haven't been done. in
Yeah, but
21
my
years.
point is, if it's something that we need for our kids,
Oh, right.
we're stingy on a lot of things, so when it comes down to the critical areas, we can splurge. And fields, I don't think it's gotten any better. Now you're bringing in cricket, another sport,
Yeah.
so there's more demand.
Well, not yet. It has to be decided.
Yes, we can pretend, just like when soccer came in, we have to decide if we're gonna allocate fields for soccer. Then we have to decide if we're gonna allocate fields for lacrosse. And then you look across at all the kids that wanna use them. Okay, we've decided.
Mhm.
Anything else new and exciting?
Oh, I think we've touched on most of it.
Well, I guess when the fields aren't where we want them to be, they're underwater, and we know your number. We know
Yes.
where to call you. But for once, I want to just say thank you for everything you and the commissioners do,
Thanks.
because we forget, we think, well, we got 2 or 3 fields in Milford that you guys take care of, and an odd cemetery here or there. And then somebody says, how many?
Mhm.
And how much do we cut the grass? It wasn't cut on Thursday. Yeah, that's because it was raining all day. But it was supposed to be cut on Thursday. So,
I just had that discussion today as we do the schools, the schools, the bushes, everything in the schools, town hall, all those areas that we, help to maintain, and it's just something that we schedule. So, once you have a schedule, you can get through it all.
I guess what I want to say is, for once, thank you. There's not a problem. We're not asking that you go do something. We're recognizing how much you already do for the town and our kids.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you.
And as always, to our 6 loyal viewers, probably 5 of them use the fields for something or other. Thank you for listening. If you have questions, reach out to the Parks Department, because a lot of times, like that area being underwater at Plains Park, people don't understand that they have 18 inches of leeway and that's it, because it was built on a dump. But it's amazing what gets done, and the amount of fields and how well they're maintained, to our automatic line painter and on up. So may God bless, may tomorrow be a better day than today, and we'll see you on the fields in Milford. Good night.